Welcome to the Tom Matt Show. You are walking through the front door of the refirement zone. And now, your host, Tom Matt.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Tom Matt Show. Thank you again so much for being with us, watching, listening, participating, however you're doing it. I appreciate any attention that we get, good, bad, or indifferent. We'll take it. It's fine. It's all good. Last week, Carson White was back. He's graduating. I've got this little series going on with some of my students, former students, recent graduates, all of these high octane young people. Carson White's one of them, talking life with that kid. And that was a good one. If a graduating senior 4.0, I mean, the guy is just amazing and had some good stories and some good tips. And I love getting the good tips. You got to get the tips from the students. They know what they're talking about. We can assume, but it never really works out that way. Okay, today, another one of these superstars, Lucas Ring. Lucas Ring is a graduate of Michigan State University. I've known Lucas for several years now. We're good friends at the gym, and he's been on the show before. He had a specialization in psychology with special interest in human performance and stress, supported by his Spanish minor and in resource management, human resource management. Working now for, I hope I pronounce this correctly, Lucas, Neovia. Okay, well, we'll get into that in a second here. He's working for Neovia now in Indianapolis. I really do believe that Lucas Ring is a future leader in human performance. I believe that all the time we've spent together talking about this, so passionate about how people can get better, and I watch it with himself and all of the injuries that he's had and the ups and downs. So we're going to talk about all of this. And how do you adapt? So adaptation is what we're calling this one. I want to welcome back to the radio program. Let him talk about his own bio. My friend, good buddy, Lucas Ring. Welcome back, Lucas. How are you, buddy?
Hey, Tom. Thank you very much for having me. I'm doing pretty well, thank you. Doing all right. It's pretty cold down here in Indianapolis.
Well, let's talk about that before we get into the deep dive of the Neovia. How do you say it again?
Neovia.
I'm going to have to write that down here. Neovia.
That's right.
Neovia. Sorry about that. Neovia. Got it.
There you go.
If I think about knees, I can get it. So, but let's do the This Is Your Life thing first. Talk about Brad and Jennifer and your brother Zachary, and get everybody caught up on your personal life, everything that's been going on. Get warmed up. Go right ahead.
Yeah. So we'll kind of start off with my parents. So, I live in a family that has mom, dad, and brother, and myself. We have a little dog as well, Poppy. She's amazing. So my dad currently works for an automotive company. It's a supplier called Webasto. They do the sunroofs and convertible tops for all of North America and globally as well. So that's really cool. They are currently just living outside Detroit currently. My mom is a stay-at-home mom, but that is a full-time job in itself, as we probably all know. She's really incredible. She's really supported me throughout a lot of this process that I'm going through, as well as my dad with a lot of mentorship with the careers. So that's been really, really good. My brother is in the thick of it right now in his university kind of journey and story. He is a sophomore at the Columbus College of Art and Design in Columbus, Ohio. He is majoring in game design. So a lot of people think right away video games, which is a good assumption, but he's really interested in card games and board games. So the other day he officially made his first card game and sold it at one of his university's art fairs. So he made 4 or 5 copies and sold 2 or 3 copies. So it's absolutely incredible. He's actually given it out to a few people for Christmas. So that was their Christmas gift, which is really, really cool. It's absolutely amazing to watch him grow in his space that he's never had the opportunity to be in that space before, especially like in an art college. Everyone's creative. Everyone's on a different level and everyone's learning. So that's really, really interesting. And then the family's doing really well. My mom actually is just recovering from a double ACL tear. She tore both ACLs last Christmas skiing, and she just had her second surgery in October. So she's just on the mend right now, so which is nice.
I can relate.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I can relate. You talked to me several times during my whole little journey with the knee stuff. No, it's good recap. Good recap. One thing that I pick up here, everybody. Lucas Ring's our guest today, and Lucas is a recent graduate from Michigan State University. And as I said, and I will continue to say, I do believe that he's a future leader in human performance because he's just he just lives it. He's the guy. Is your brother Zachary? Is he as athletically inclined as you? Because you're really, I mean, you get down and dirty with all that. Is he in the same cut from the same cloth?
So yeah, my brother during high school played rugby just like I did. As he went on to college, there was no really opportunity to play rugby. However, for not doing a lot of sport, he is quite physically fit. Over the Christmas break, he did like a push-up thing with his buddies, and he could get 50 push-ups in a row without really any training. So he kind of gets the genetics, which is really interesting. But one thing that's really I'm really proud of as a brother, and I'm currently working on it for him. He's asked me to do a training program for him because I know Tom knows this. I recently got my NASM personal trainer certificate. So he's trying to utilize that. So he sent me a bunch of photos and videos of gym equipment, but where does this kind of go into play? So yeah, he has some physical capabilities that he can definitely nurture, but the mentality of it is like realizing, okay, especially in art school, it's about projects. How can we go with projects and go on full force, right? We have 3 different things to prioritize, how do we prioritize them? And I think that's where his performance really comes into play, not as much as the physical side, but definitely the mental side of having to perform, create something very elegant, very creative without a lot of time. So I think that's kind of what is really cool about that whole experience.
You know what I just jotted down here? Lucas Ring's our guest today. Is when you find that specialist as a trainer now, you need to find the things that make people click. And so find that specialness in that person because everybody's a little bit different. And so what's going to drive them? What's going to motivate them? You can't force it. You want them to be all involved and invested in this. That's the whole thing about human performance, right, Lucas? I mean, it's just, that's the key. This is the key about you becoming a leader in human performance and the things that we're going through and you're going through with this adaptation. So moving, graduating, all of these kind of things. That's where we want to go with today's show, everybody. So Lucas, I got this set up here like this. I want to get your opinion on it. I told you quickly in our pre-production talk. We're going to go with adaptation as a title, but I want to go with your definition of elite performance. And I want to get your opinion on these little topics I have here. The exercise, academia, how important that is too, just like talking with your brother as a sophomore in college, how that you getting him a program can really help him flourish in college. And you know this. And that's the thing we want to try to not hammer home, just plant the seeds with everybody because exercise and academia, they go hand in hand, no question about it. Then the relationship side of things, Lucas. I mean, it's like you've been through it. I know you've been through it. You've moved around. As you young people kind of find your path, you have to make some tough decisions. And I, talk to all you guys about this kind of stuff. That's kind of what I do is giving you my advice on that, the relationship side of things. And so we'll go from there and whatever else we can weave in there. So give me a couple minutes on those little topics where we're going to go with this. You think we can cover all that?
Yeah, I think we can.
It's which one would you think is probably your favorite of all of those on the elite performance thing, or are they all like very relevant that between exercise and the academia and the relationships? Which one do you think really drives the whole ship?
Personally, I think relationships, but also like more in a way of connections and friendships. I think that's really, really important, and I'm sure we'll get into it. But how I got placed into the position that I'm currently in. I think those are really important. Of course, I love the physical side in academia, but connections would be the way I go.
I had a feeling that Lucas was going to go there with this because he's a super interpersonal guy. And this is the thing about our young people. If we can find these young people like a Lucas Ring who has dynamic interpersonal skills and give them a little bit of assistance, a little bit of boost, a little bit of like, you can do this kind of stuff, really get behind them and give them a little bit of, you don't even really have to push people. You just have to kind of guide them, just sort of guide them, introduce them to people, let them do their own thing, but be there as a perhaps safety net or as a resource. But that's how we have to think about it. We have to be a resource to our young people. Lucas Ring's here to help us understand how all that works. Calling this one Adaptation with the future leader in human performance, Lucas Ring. This is The Tom Matt Show.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Tom Matt Show. This week's episode featuring MSU alum Lucas Ring. He's a human performance expert, up and coming, doing his thing. Guy knows more about athletics. And I mean, we've talked many times about just all kinds of different injuries, different modalities, different strategies, because it's ever changing. And I'm so happy to know that Lucas is a certified personal trainer with NASM, NASM. And I'm glad that he went through that as I did. And it's a very, very solid program. And if you got a NASM certification, you're a good trainer, because it's not that easy. I want to stop saying because we were just talking about this during our little break here. That's the thing. It's okay, everybody, to continue to improve always. That's why you got to listen to yourself if you do these types of things. Anyways, our sponsor is Brock Fletcher, the selling team of Keller Williams Realty. Great people, love them, trust them. They're the best. Call them 517-853-6408. That's the office number, 517-853-6408, or Brock's cell phone number, which he really prefers this. You can text him, leave him a voicemail, 517-303-3262, 517-303-3262. You can go online to kwsellingteam.com. You go to our website, tommattshow.com, bottom of that homepage, and click on through. He's got a sweet website. Want to say hello and thank you for listening to Joan Wright, who's a fan of the show, and she's a customer and long-term friend of Brock Fletcher. Brock Fletcher's got friends everywhere because he's so trustworthy. His whole team's amazing. I mean, Stacy and Mikey and just everybody. It's just, I love having them as a sponsor, but I really love having them as someone who's helped us in our lives, because he helped us with Big House Hold, as I've said many times. When we didn't want to sell, when we wanted to keep our forever home, but we knew something, we had to make some changes. Sometimes you got to go to the experts and you got to ask their advice. I'm not afraid of doing that. I've learned, you can learn and you can adapt, and that's what we're talking about today with Lucas Ring, performance expert. Adaptation. Brock Fletcher helped us adapt, get our mindset turned, and away we went. Again, 517-303-3262 is Brock's cell phone number. Please give him a call. Tell him you heard it from Tommy, and away we go. All right, Lucas Ring's here, talking adaptation. He's a recent graduate from Michigan State University, an honors graduate. What was that GPA again there, young man?
It might have been something like a 4.0 out of 4.0.
Oh, yeah, something like a little 4.0. Just, we're humble pie here. We're going to go with a little bit. That's why I really admire this young man. He is so solid. He was a captain of the rugby team at Michigan State. Not too shabby. How many injuries did you have when you did your little rugby career at Michigan State? Just a couple?
Just a couple. One surgery, one broken bone, and then a few other little things. Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you think about this? Now, here we go digressing, you and I talking. Let's talk a little rugby. Okay. So is rugby ever going to become a thing in the U.S. or what's your take on that? Because you are a rugby guy. I mean, and when I met some of your teammates at our lunch that time, and I didn't even realize that they were your teammates. They call him Ringo, everybody. Ringo, because I just call him Lucas, and they're like, Lucas, Lucas Ring. Oh, Ringo, captain. Yeah. So talk about that whole team thing, that whole, playing that rugby sport. Do you think that's ever going to catch on here?
Yeah. So it's actually a great question. It's actually quite controversial right now. Mark Cuban came out the other day. They were interviewing him for something to do with the business. And someone asked him, do you think rugby is going to shoot off in the U.S., especially in the business wise? Because we've had a lot of professional clubs in the Major League Rugby. They have gone bankrupt or they're not being very successful. So we've gone from, I think, 9 or 8 teams to 6 teams this season. So we're losing a lot of people, a lot of success. However, I think it's one big thing with rugby. So unless you've played it, if you've ever played it or you've ever been around it, you don't it's hard to understand what the culture of it is. So to help everyone kind of understand what I'm talking about. So I started playing rugby when I was around 11 years old, and I've been playing ever since. Currently still play here in Indianapolis. When I joined rugby, It was just kind of the sport you played at school over in England. Like they said, it was very similar to American football. I was like, okay. So I just went out and played it, started having a ball with it. From that age, all the way down to around 3, when you can start playing like kind of flag rugby. After every match, you have a team social afterwards with the other team. So it's really important that like you are battling on the pitch, like you are getting injuries, you're going to have to go get surgery. Like you're going to play against these guys in a rough and very brutal game. But at every single level of rugby, you have a team social at the end. What does that look like? We're intermingling with the other team. We have food, we eat, especially in university. It's like, hey, like what class are you doing? Oh, dude, I took that class last semester. It sucked, right? So you realize that it's really, really important that even though if you like battle, whether that be in the sport or what I've like experienced in business, right? You're battling, you're negotiating, but after that meeting or after that match, right? We're humans at the end of the day. So you go and have lunch, right? You go get a pint with a buddy, right? It's just how it really works. And you can see that throughout, like I said, all levels of rugby. So international, there's a very cool clip of the South African team, I believe, playing the All Blacks, which is the team from New Zealand. And one of the Springboks, so South African players, just had a baby and brought the baby on the pitch, right? And was talking to the New Zealand guy and gave the New Zealand guy his baby, right, to hold. Like in a lot of other sports, you don't really get that. And especially with my upbringing, I was global. I moved everywhere. I didn't necessarily speak the language of the country I lived in. However, there was a rugby club, right? So we all have the same kind of terms for certain things in rugby. And I just had to learn what was right, how to say right, and how to say left. And then you just kind of join that community and they understand that the respect is just a huge thing. So yeah, now answering your question, is rugby going to shoot off in the US? It's definitely in a huge place and there's a lot of opportunity there. However, will it ever become bigger than American football or basketball or baseball? I don't think so, personally. I think there's a lot of guys who played high school football, high school basketball, high school baseball, stopped at high school and went off to college, and they have that nostalgia. They play through the TV, right? They see people playing basketball and they're like, oh, I remember when I did this, right? Unless you played rugby at a young age or at some point in your life, you don't have that nostalgia, that connection to the sport. So unless we get it shooting off, yeah, it's awesome. But it's also very cool to be a niche sport, because when you meet somebody, they're like, rugby, wow, like what's that, like American football without pads, So it's cool.
I was thinking about this. Lucas Ring's our guest, and I wanted to get to, because I only got a minute to go before we wrap this segment. But what did Mark Cuban have to say then? Is he a proponent? Does he think there's going to be a league? What was the takeaway? So
I didn't watch the full interview. However, he said it's going to be a struggle getting professional rugby to get going. He said he wouldn't get into the business. He doesn't know how much of a success it can be. However, the clubs that at my level, at university level, at high school, middle school, that's where the success will start, just like anything, right? We started in the youth, started in the seed, and we build it up from there.
That's the thing. You got to have the feeder programs, and they get well established. That's where soccer has come along. I like what you were saying about, the niche sports. I met a couple of guys. We were at a hockey game last night at Michigan State, and a couple of these young men were lacrosse guys in high school. And I really don't know much about lacrosse. It's big on the East Coast. So these niche sports, whatever they are, we want you to move, everybody. If you find it and you like it, sounds like it's backyard football to me. Kind of like what we used to do when we played tackle football in the backyard. Sounds like fun to me. Give it a shot. This is the Tom Matt Show.
Thank you again to Brock Fletcher, real estate agent at the selling team with Keller Williams Realty. For more information on services provided by Brock, please call his personal cell phone at 517-303-3262 or by emailing Brock at kwsellingteam.com. This is the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode, Tom Matt Show. If I don't get busy doing some work here and recording, because between segments, I didn't get a chance to see our video recordings of the between segment stuff very often. I used to put them up all the time, and it was just made the videos too long. But it's pretty interesting when we have conversations, because my guest and I, we always talk about where we're going and kind of chuck it up and laugh about, what the progress of the show is going, because I am Mr. Digress if you ever known me. This segment again is sponsored by Brock and the selling team of Keller Williams Realty. And this is where we do the testimonial. And I love these testimonials. It's a favorite because we're our own walking testimonial for Brock. I mean, 2 houses, Mike Dedman, Brock, 5-6 years of doing radio. We got the reality of real estate episodes up the yin yang on our website. Go check those out. That's another cool thing, you guys, because it doesn't cost you anything. If you've got questions, real estate rates, the interest rates are coming down. It's a dog eat dog racket out there. If you don't have the right people helping you, like Brock, you're gonna miss out because it's so competitive. Here's one from Becky. We were always kept in the loop when new properties became available. We found the information provided was very accurate and helpful in continuing the process of making an informal decision for purchasing vacant property. That was from Becky. Here's another one. I talked to a few realtors in Lansing before choosing Brock Fletcher and his team to assist in selling my home. Brock's combination of experience and knowledge of the area combined with his ability to understand my needs and how to successfully price and market my home made him the obvious choice for me. That was from Stacy from Lansing. Good job, Stacy. Nice testimonial. Again, call Brock, 517-303-3262. That is his personal cell phone. You can text him, you can leave him a voicemail, and he will get back to you because service and trust are his 2 middle names. The whole team, they're the bomb. Love them. Lucas Ranks here, talking about adaptation and how he's matriculated from his time at Michigan State University. Lucas, you're pretty good. I mean, you've had a worldly life. You've talked about that in the previous episode, and you've kind of alluded to that today, with your extensive travels with your family. And so you've been exposed to a lot. So adaptation for you, this is a really strong topic for you because you're not afraid to make the jump. So set this up because you finish with a 4-point, and Mr. Humble Pie himself he won't ever brag on it, but I'll brag on him because I'm proud of him. So you're making the jump, and you've already made you've moved, you've done the thing. Let's talk first about that. Talking about the move and the how your performance has evolved, because I can tell looking at the video, everybody, sorry to the radio listeners, but looking at the video, I can see Lucas as I don't see him that much anymore. Obviously, he lives in Indianapolis, but you look very, very fit and you look very trim. And so let's talk about that. You're adapting to the new environment, human performance. What's happening with Lucas, and talk about that first set of decisions you had to make.
Yeah, of course. So I moved from basically Lansing down to Indianapolis in September for a job right out of college. And one thing that I really wanted to focus on.
Yeah, let's plug Neovia.
Yeah, Neovia Logistics. So it was a big deal. I moved down here and I thought, I'm only moving states. I've done it before. However, the big change was that I was not going to be in school at Neovia. I believe I'm one of their first ever straight out of college hires. So I had a lot of pressure of seeing how successful I was going to be and seeing what are they going to do it in the future with other recent grads, which is really, really cool.
How do you feel about that? Does that make you nervous?
No, it's exciting. When I got told that, I was like, let's go prove something, right? Let's go prove something to myself. Let's go get this out, right?
That's my boy right there. That's what I'm talking about.
Right. It doesn't make me nervous at all. But keeping that in mind, right? We're going from a college setting, college atmosphere where everyone is, I say this with, obviously there's caveats, everyone's the same, right? Everyone is a student. We're most likely in debt, right? We have comparisons. You have a GPA, you have classes, and we're all taking the same things. You leave university, and one thing that I found was that I was lost because I was not able to compare myself to anybody, right? And I didn't realize I compared myself very often to people, but this person, she's going to go to Chicago to get a job. All right. Awesome. All right. I can't compare salaries because we don't know each other's salaries, right? This guy's going to go work as an electrician. Okay. I can't compare to him because I'm doing my own thing. Right. And I didn't realize that was such a big thing that I had in my head, and that adaptation of realizing, I'm by myself. No one else is going to push me. This is me, right? I'm pushing this drive. Obviously you have support people like the great Tom, right? But you realize that you're by yourself. This is you. You got to drive for your goals. So that was one big thing moving to Indianapolis was I didn't have some other students telling me what their GPA was. And I was like, I want to do better, right? I want to be at that level. So it's really interesting doing that by yourself.
Let me ask you, let me jump in real quick, Luke, because Lucas Rings, our guest today. Is there, I'm always, people want to know the silver bullet. I know there are no silver bullets, but what do you think was one or two things that gave you that confidence to make that move, or that you knew in your mind you had to be resilient enough? So was there something specific that you thought about?
Yeah, 100%. I think obviously I had a somewhat successful academic start to my career.
I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say. And I really, really realized that, like, this is my shot. Like, I'm getting this one shot. Let's go take it. And I'm just going to be, so again, as Tom's mentioned, my background is psychology. So, and I'm now I'm a human resources business partner at Neovia Logistics. So taking what I've learned from school is going to apply a little bit to the human resources, but I was like, okay, we're going with I call it a baby mind, right? Babies learn like that, left, right. It's a sponge, right? Take everything into consideration. So I knew that if I go in with that mentality, and I know that mentality that I'm going to make mistakes, like, what do I have to lose? Really? Let's just go for it. And supported by, like, my boss is absolutely amazing. Her name is Danny Green. She's super duper supportive. She told me I can't make any big mistake as big as that she can, right? So she's going to support me in rooms behind closed doors. And that's how our team is built upon that foundation.
That is so great. Knowing that you have the confidence of your superior is so important. And when they communicate that to you, that's a good tip for you guys, for the managers that are out there. And when you get these young people come in here, if you can kind of pour something in their head, thank you for saying that. That's really solid, man.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And the support that she's given me and all my other colleagues really have given me is, like, we fight for each other, right? So it's interesting. Human resources, like in logistics, we're not part of the operations side as much, right? However, my title is a human resources business partner. So I know the human resources stuff, I know the policies, but business partner, I'm partnering with the business. We're supporting the operation. So having the knowledge of what operations does, inbound, outbound, inventory, right? That, and being able to support them in a different way with the human resources is extremely important. So having that foundation where you know that, yeah, I'm in charge, this is my specialty, but knowing how to do this is really important, because then we can apply, we can adapt our kind of policies towards what is actually needed in the individualized processes.
So important. Here's my takeaway from that little chunk of that segment, everybody. You may be in the refinement zone. See, he's in his refinement zone from college into his first career. But I loved what you said about the baby mind, the sponge. To go in there, don't go in cocky. Don't ever go in cocky as a know-it-all, because a lot of times people have fear and they go in and they project this overconfident kind of cocky attitude because they are insecure with what they believe in and what they know. Don't do that, right? I mean, you're a human performance expert, Lucas. If you go in with an open mind and you're honest and you're humble, you can be successful. All right, let me reset this thing. We're going to go to break here. As I've been saying, Lucas Ring is a graduate of Michigan State University. He's a human performance expert, works for Neovia Logistics in Indianapolis now. We'll talk a little bit more about Neovia. I want to know more about the business side of things. And what did Lucas transfer from college into the workspace? How did that integrate and how does that work? That's where we're going with all of this stuff. Again, Lucas Ring's our guest today, everybody. Adaptation. This is The Tom Matt Show.
This segment of The Tom Matt Show is brought to you in part by the Source of Light and Power by band leader Archival and broadcaster Mitch Anderson. Hear the sound that is endorsed by Odyssey headphones, linear tube audio, RME converters, and Peluso microphones at sourceoflightandpower.com.
Welcome to The Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host, Tom Matt. Thank you, Sandy, for bringing us back. Mitch, for doing all of your magic behind the audio screen as our producer extraordinaire. And then, of course, Vanessa handles all of our video content for the radio program. She's all over it, and she does a wonderful job. And I can't say enough about our staff. They're just so great. I mean, so great. Lucas Ring's with us. Calling this an adaptation. Lucas Ring is a recent graduate from Michigan State University. He is a human performance expert, And if not already there, he's well on his way. And I know that he would probably cringe when I say he's a human performance expert. He's probably cringing because he's very humble. But I look at him and I see somebody at a young age who's already been very successful and is going to just soar. I mean, just these young people, when you see these young people who are like a Lucas Ring, you can see it. You can feel it. And it's just like, give them a little boost and get out of their way, because it's like, boy, they can fly. How do you want people to contact with you there, young man? I mean, you got a lot going on. You're traveling all over the place. You go to these conferences, but how would you like people to connect with you?
Yeah. So if anyone would like to get out and reach out to me and talk about either Neovia logistics, the human kind of performance area, please contact me at my personal email, lgring3@gmail.com. If you'd like to talk about Neovia logistics itself and potentially partner in business, it's lucas.ring@Neovia. So that is NEOVIA logistics.com. That is my work email. You're more than welcome to reach out and we'll get you in contact with the right people.
Okay. So when we were in the previous segment, I was leading into this question here because the transfer of knowledge from college into professional life is a big jump. I mean, it's a big jump. So Lucas is a perfect example of somebody who's traveled around. He's with his life as a young person. He's a global guy. I mean, he's very fortunate. So he has a little bit of a foundation where he can go from East Lansing, Michigan for 4 or 5 years of college and go right to Indianapolis, being the first college student that they've ever hired straight out of college, greener than grass. And that's why he's Lucas Ring. And so give us some more input on all of that, because it's like that whole matriculation, as I was saying, is solid. And then I'd like you to talk about Neovia, the company itself, and then the job. So that's a big question, but you got the whole segment to talk about this. Please go right ahead.
Yeah. So I'm going to write down these notes as I know, because I'll forget kind of what this stuff is. But so academics and going into the workforce. Obviously, it's really important to focus on your academics. It's really especially in the fields of science, right? And that if that's going to be completely translated over to what you're going to be doing in the workforce, that's really, really important. With the social sciences, so with psychology, it's really important that you learn, obviously, what you need to learn in class, but also understand how people start to think, how there's patterns, behavioral patterns and outcomes. Because, for example, when I came over to Neovia as a human resources business partner, obviously, I didn't have a lot of knowledge on human resources. However, I did have a knowledge on how people kind of behave, how we can react. For example, if me and Tom are having a discussion and I come out of that discussion, I'm like, dude, Tom's not the guy. I don't like him, right? Think about, okay, why is there an obstacle? Why is there a barrier to the connection between Tom and I? Let's address that. Let's figure it out, because I'm assuming Tom's probably feeling the same way about me. And to be successful and efficient, that ain't going to work. Right. So understanding that what you learn in school is very important and can translate over, but a lot of the time it might not. And you're going to, again, we're going back to this sponge baby mind, right? We want to absorb, right? Because what you learn in a textbook is very different to what you're going to learn in person. One of the big things that I've learned so far is my boss says it, I'm going to steal it from her, but you want to be a thermostat, not a thermometer. Right? What does that mean? So someone comes into my office really upset about something, upset about another associate. So they're going to be at like 90 degrees, right, on their thermometer. But I'm the thermostat. I want to be at 72 degrees. How do I get him to be down to 72 degrees? How do we manage energy, right? Because if someone's really high on energy and I'm like at my 72 degrees, that conversation is not going to work. If we can get him to level out to where I am, it slows down the process. It brings up the really important things. It's not just rambling, right? It is specific information that you can use then to convert to an actual solution. Same with someone who's at 50 degrees, right? You want to bring them back up to 72. We got to bring something out of them. We have to bring the proficiency out of them, the efficiency, right? So that's one thing that I could not have really learned in academics that is really, really important that I'm currently working on, right? Definitely not an expert in it yet, but asking these questions, that brings that energy back to a kind of medium.
Well, I like what you were saying, and let me reset this a little bit, everybody. Lucas Ring's with us, Adaptation, because you talked about Neovia logistics in such a glowing way, and I made the note of a team, and that they have that team environment. And so if they're okay with bringing you in and teaching you, then you need to absorb all of this. I like that whole vibe that you're talking about with Neovia. What does Neovia do?
Yep. So Neovia Logistics is a third-party logistics company. What does that mean? Basically, we have clients who we have contracts with. We do all their warehousing for them. To put it in very basic terms, we get the client sends us their product, right? So we inbound it, so we receive it, we put it away, we inventory it, and then when their clients or vendors want to sell it or use it, we then we pick it, and then we send it outbound to wherever it needs to be. So that's kind of like the bare, like raw, basic form of what it is. What does Neovia do? It creates opportunities for people that really want the opportunities to shine, right? For me, my kind of going into Neovia, I got it through connections. It's something that we mentioned before. I was posting a lot on LinkedIn, just out of college, didn't have a job coming out. I worked really hard for 3 months after college, posted on LinkedIn, working in research labs, doing this, doing that, like all sorts of stuff, right?
Make sure everybody is clear here. Yeah. You did not know anything about Neovia in this process.
No, nothing about Neovia before this.
Okay.
And I had no knowledge about logistics at all before this.
And a little bit of lack of knowledge with the human resource things, but that's okay. I mean, you're just going to roll into it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so basically you are greener than grass. I mean, you are so green, you are like yellow.
Thanks. And I mean, I get that green from Michigan State, so go green, baby.
There you go.
But I've got through connection. Someone liked it. One of my posts, who went to someone else, went to someone else. They reached out to me. He's like, hey, you want to interview with the CHRO and the CEO of this company? Yeah, let's do it. So I got it face to face with our CHRO, who's Michael Foss. He's an amazing guy. And then our CEO, Mike Fahy. Now, this is where I love life because things just come around in circles. Mike Fahy, we get on a Zoom interview of my team's interview call. We're chatting and he sees that I play rugby. And he's an Irish guy and absolutely loves rugby. So we get to talk about rugby. We have these connections, like talking about this. And then eventually it actually came to fruition. I got an interview with my current boss. And yeah, from then on, we just kind of went with the flow. Had me move down to Indianapolis a month later, and we're thriving right now.
So what would be your takeaway? Because I got a minute to go before we go to break here. What would be the takeaway on this? Because I've got some thoughts on this, but the takeaway from this crazy, haphazard, non-interview, non-apply way of getting this career started. Give me a minute. Give me a minute takeaway on that one.
Yeah, I think, especially when you're coming out of college, like, I definitely had a little bit of arrogance, right? I was like, okay, like I just got a 4.0, like let's go, like come on, like where are these offers, right? But in reality, anyone can apply to 1,000 jobs on LinkedIn or Indeed, right? Anyone can tune their resume to make it just perfect, right? But in reality, as Neovia really is overall, which we'll probably get into, is it's a human-based thing, right? You have to reach out to people. They're going to see you, not a resume, right? And when I talked to Mike Fahy, we talked about rugby. Like we've talked about logistics a little bit and like who I am, but rugby was the focus. And that connection, I think, really, really supported my application. So I think, yeah, connections is the biggest thing and really reaching out to people, because again, anyone can submit 1,000 applications. And
that's the thing about connections, everybody. And I have that on my Facebook page. I'm a connector. I take a lot of pride because of the radio program, because of me. You connect with a lot of people. If you find this skill set that you have, utilize it. Don't diminish. Don't have the limiting belief that I can't help anybody with this. No. This is where we get caught up. And when we can help other people, when you can elevate a talent like a Lucas Ring, as you can tell by this interview, again, humble pie man, he came out, he just said, coming out of college, 4.0, Mr. Know-It-All, little cocky, athlete, seen a million of them. But you got to eat that humble pie and have a little bit of crow and be okay with it and be okay with adapting. And you know what? They look at your resume and they say, hey, you played Tiddlywinks in high school? Man, I was the captain of my Tiddlywinks team. Right. We're going to get along great. Lucas Rings here, Adaptation. This is the Tom Matt Show.
Thank you again to Brock Fletcher, real estate agent at the selling team with Keller Williams Realty. For more information on services provided by Brock, please call his personal cell phone at 517-303-3262 or by emailing Brock at kwsellingteam.com. This is the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Tom Matt Show. Doing my deep radio voice. Hope you like that. I can't do it forever. I can't do it for more than 30 seconds. Lucas Ring's here. Adaptation. Talk about human performance. Lucas Ring is a graduate of Michigan State University. He is a future leader in the human performance area of life, which means it's big. It's huge. It's all about relationships. It's all about connecting. It's all about being smart as heck too. I mean, but you gotta have that humble pie. You just said something, Lucas, when we're talking about Neovia. Neovia Logistics is your employer. You had no idea who these people were. You're coming, you're a senior in college. There's this whole story in the previous segment about, those months of just kind of going out there and kind of getting the humble pie handed to you, right? You're eating some humble pie at 4 Point, right?
Yep, exactly.
The human-based thing with Neovia, continue that conversation because I want you to finish that thread. You're really, really intense, and I'm really liking what I'm hearing with Neovia Logistics. But then we're going to weave in, everybody, just so you know where we're going. Lucas's system. He has a system, his own system of how that you can make this successful between his nutrition and his exercise and work, because he's a recent college grad. How did he do it? But let's finish the thread on the human-based thing with Neovia, and then we'll roll into the system, and because the system feeds your success. Go ahead.
Yeah, 100%. So when I got out of college, and got into Neovia, one of the biggest things, which kind of comes along with my background, is I really want a work-life balance. I really want that opportunity to have that work-life balance. Again, I shout out to my boss, Annie Green. She really supports that. So when I first started going into Neovia, I'd go into the office, I'd work out. I'd usually run a mile in the morning. I'd get up, just go to the treadmill that's near my apartment. I'd run and I'd go get ready, go to work. And then when I get home from work, I would usually, first at work, you eat a good lunch, right? A lot of guys will order DoorDash or they'll go out, get a sandwich or a pizza, right? And that doesn't work for me because I know that the fuel I'm having during the day, it needs to be something supportive, energetic, because I know if I have a big greasy meal at lunch, I'm probably not going to be very efficient for the rest of the day.
May I interrupt you for just a second? I ask your opinion on this.
Please.
Okay. So I just did a video recently about becoming seven-figure wealth, net worth. And one of the things I talk about is what you just mentioned, where people can sabotage their own lives by buying coffees and lunches. Those two things together in the work can add up to such a huge, significant, not only the calories, but I'm talking about the financial side of it. Can you talk about that for just a moment, please?
100%. One of my big things here in Indianapolis, I don't eat out very often. I love to cook. That helps a lot. But especially on the financial side, right? Like I pay $100 for groceries a week because I want the high quality food that I'm going to get. And I might pay $15 for a meal, right? Like that's like 15% of what my groceries would be for a whole week in just one meal. And if you take 3 meals a day with 7 days, right? That's 21 meals. You're kind of down on it already. So it's really the financial side, really important. And then also feeling like I never feel really good after I have a Chipotle meal, right? This is not who I am. But obviously there's times where you're like, I crave Chipotle right now. Like, let's go get Chipotle. But otherwise, like you can make the Chipotle bowl at your own time, right? You can make with the corn and beans and everything like that.
Give the listeners an example, the young people out there that are thinking about maybe they're finishing college. Give them an example of what you do for your lunches. I know this is basic stuff, everybody, but this is the fundamental foundation that you build your successful career on. So what was a couple examples of what you do for your meal prep?
Yeah. Well, first I want to preface it is boring, right? My meals are boring and that's okay. But if you find these ones that make them like tasty and delicious. So the big one that I always do, and my coworkers laugh at me because I eat it every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, is just a pesto veggie chicken bowl. What's that include? It's white rice. I get some pesto. I get bell peppers, mushrooms, red onion, and then a chicken and I just put some spices on that. I air fry all of it except the rice basically and the chicken. And I put it into a container and it is absolutely delicious. If I'm feeling frisky, I'll add some mozzarella cheese or Parmesan cheese, right? But you're getting your nutrients, you're getting some carbs, you're getting really important things, especially if you're really using your mind at work, you got to refuel. So it's really boring. And then other than that, I get some pasta stuff and I make my own ramen. I don't use like the Insta ramens. I make my own little ramen. There's a bunch of stuff like that where it's boring, but it's delicious. So why change it?
So you alluded to the food cost. Okay. So your food cost for a prepared meal like that is probably less than $5. And if you go out, you're definitely spending way more than that. So just keep that in mind, everybody. How are you doing with your savings? Are you saving money?
Yeah. So right now I'm keeping a budget. During college, I really tried, but right now I'm really keeping a budget, keeping it tight. I don't spend a lot of money like on the very material things. This is not who I am. So yeah, I'm saving quite a bit of money. I've got with Neovia, we have a nice benefit with the 401k. So I've got 10% of that going away into the 401k right currently. And I'm fluctuating it, trying to figure out what's the right number, as well as my own personal savings to save up for trips, emergency money, all this stuff. And big shout out if you are in college at some point or right now you're in college, definitely go ahead and try to take a personal finance class. At Michigan State, I had to do it for a minor, didn't think much of it, but now I'm using it. I'm investing in stocks. I'm investing in all sorts of portfolios, right? And I only learned I learned it from 2 classes, but one of them was a really big influence on that. So understanding how that works, because at the end of the day, yeah, it is boring to talk. It can be very boring to talk about, right? I have no interest really in it, but I know it's very, very important. So if people are telling me, let's do this, we got to go do this. So
if we don't help you guys, and again, this will come from your parents. And if we don't talk to you guys about financial situations, because it can be complicated, it can be boring, and it can be really dry. And it's like, I don't want to talk about this right now. It's like talking about life insurance. But it's so important to just have an understanding of that. So good for you. And shout out to you for the 401k and find that magic number, because working at the university, I can tell you guys, one of the reasons that we were very fortunate to reach our 7-figure net worth was because of the supplemental retirement plan at the university, in addition to the 401k plan, which you can put money in and you can pull it in and push it in and pull it out all you want. That made a massive, massive, massive difference. And I got just some advice from one of my colleagues at the university, and Lucas, it worked. I mean, just you put 1% away of your raise every year, it'll add up. 10 years, obviously you'll have 10%, and you won't even notice it. You won't even notice it. All right, I want to get it just because we're going to run out of time here. We got about three or 4 minutes to go here. Your daily system. You kind of started with the food, but talk about your daily system. You're successful now. You've kind of hit your groove. You've been working now for, over 6 months in this field. You're living. What is your daily routine like? Just go through it. Tell everybody about it. And some of the tips that the routine, the habits, the good things that you've established. Yeah.
So again, I kind of go back to this idea of that very, very boring, very disciplined, right? But every day is very different too. So the things that are really important, you stick with. So I wake up at 6 a.m. I do stay in bed until about 6:08, 6:10, because that's just how I am. And then I realize, what am I doing? Like, let's get going. So then I roll out of bed. I get ready. I stretch in my apartment. I warm up a little bit, and I go over across the road to my apartment gym, do my workout. Or I Tuesdays and Thursdays, I run a 5K. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I work out. And then Sundays, I run a six miler. And then Saturdays are my rest day. So today's a very nice day for me. So that's cool. I have a good breakfast. I go to work. A lot of the time, like, I'm behind a desk, but I have the opportunity. I really love going out on the floor of the warehouse. And I speak Spanish. So Spanish minor is a huge thing. About 60% of our population at the warehouse is Hispanic.
Interesting.
So I'm speaking Spanish about probably 45 to 50% of the time I'm at work, which is really incredible.
That's a really good tip, Lucas.
Yeah.
I mean, did see, you had no idea.
No,
you had no idea that skill from college was going to help you.
No, I knew language. Like, obviously everyone's like, yeah, it's great to be bilingual, trilingual. I was like, okay, yeah, I understand that when I'll go on vacation and use it. Right. But now we're talking about human resource policies in the office, and being able to communicate the culture is extremely important. So that's been a really cool. Yeah. It's a little cool drop right there.
Excellent.
So yeah, then I go to work. I try to get off my feet as much as possible, be out there. And then I get home from work. I might go to the grocery store, depends on kind of what the day is. And then either, depending on how I feel, because I have to listen to my body, I'll either go for another run or go on the Stairmaster or hit the treadmill just to walk at an incline for a little bit. I usually have meal prepped food ready to go, or I have like meat that's already been curated or spiced up. I just put that in the pan. Then I also have an internship. So I work on some internship work, and I'm still working with a grad student at Michigan State, helping him out with the project. So we're doing that. And then to finish off my day for 2026, it's been my thing, is journaling about my day right at the end of the day, and also reading at least 10 pages of a book. So, and journaling, it's three things. It's a sentence that concludes my day. It's a challenge or a way I challenge myself or want to challenge myself in the future. And then a self-affirmation with a quote at the end of the day, which I'm going to put together as a book of my quotes for the year.
If you take one chunk of advice from this radio program, it's the last 3 minutes that Lucas was just talking about. That was the best advice you will ever hear from a young person, from anyone. Having a set schedule like that, so focused on everything and staying so busy, awesome. If our show fits your business or group's mission, we want to be of service to you through our guests. Issues, please let us know. Sponsorships are available. You got to fit. But we are looking for that. And if you want, just give us a call. You got our number. You can go to our contact box on the website and get a hold of us there. Always remember, before you can share love with others, you must love yourself first. I want to thank Lucas Ring for coming back on the radio program. He'll be back again because he's got some amazing stories and some great advice. He is a future leader in human performance, and I thank him very much for coming with us. Sandy, Brock, we'll talk to everybody next weekend, everybody. Have a great week. Go out and ignite your life. Remember, the Tom Matt Show is a production of Boomers Rock Media. We want to bring your story to life. And once again, thank you to Mitch Anderson and Vanessa, our production staff. We are out.
The Tom Matt Show is produced by Mitch Anderson, Black Circle Studios. Original music from the Source of Light and Power by the Arc of All.